All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to In Air's Kitchen. This is our Friday episode, and last week we did pizza. Again, this week we're going to do pizza. Hey, thanks for joining me, guys. This is Violet, and this is Blue, and if you've been watching these shows, you may have seen them. So, first of all, just a little bit of viewing instructions here. We're going to make pizza. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I was thinking of something else that might be fun to throw in there, too. I think we're going to make a kale take on a Caesar salad, which will be really yummy as well. And it's a favorite of ours. But what I should say is, if you started your pizza dough last night, we're using an overnight pizza dough today. So if you started your pizza dough last night, follow along. If you want to make this pizza and you haven't yet started the pizza dough, go back and watch yesterday's episode. And that's where I went through the instructions on how to set up this dough. And then come back a day later. And tomorrow you can make your pizza. If you want pizza and you want it right now, go back and watch our episode from last Friday, because in last Friday's episode we made a super fast pizza dough. Do you guys remember? We placed an order with a pizza delivery company, and then we set a clock and started at it, and we had a race for ourselves to see if we could make a pizza from scratch faster than the delivery came. And did we pull it off?
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually had quite a bit of time, even though nobody was sure this whole thing was going to work, except me. But the pizza was really delicious. That dough that I showed last week is a super fast dough. You can start from zero and get to a great spot really, really quickly. But if you want to do an overnight dough, that's what this one is. And I started it last night, and you can go back and watch yesterday's show to see me starting this if you want to follow along. And now we have this the next day. So we're going to pick up from there. Just wanted to make sure everybody understood where we were in the process. We're working with recipes that I think everybody can try at home, and even if you're a novice cook, you should be able to do this. We're working with really basic ingredients, and we're working with really basic techniques. In the case today, we're using yeast and flour and water and a little bit of salt to make this dough, and then we're going to top it with some tomato sauce and some cheese. Blue, you're taking a peek at the stream. Is it coming through all right?
It says error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming.
Would you do me a favor and make sure that Clementine's not on a video conference call or something like that? Thanks, buddy. All right, so we may have bandwidth issues in the house. Hopefully that'll get cleared up pretty quickly. So let's start out with these doughs. Now, the way this dough works, you set it up the night before, and it's a pretty easy thing to get it set up. And on yesterday's episode, we showed doing two ways, mixing it by hand and mixing it with a mixer. And then you set it up to go overnight. What you want to do is you want to pull it out of the refrigerator. You're cooling it down to keep it from going very quickly so that some flavor can develop. You want to pull it out of the refrigerator about 2 hours before you want to use it. That'll vary a little bit about the temperature of your house. So if your house is a little bit warmer, then you may want to pull it out 3 hours before. 1 hour before, 1.5 hours. If your house is a little cooler, you might want to pull it out like 3 hours before. This I pulled out just about 2 hours ago. And this one here is the one I pulled out. So you can see it has some bubbles there that are visible. And altogether, it's a little bit on the fluffy side. This one here was in the refrigerator until just a few minutes ago. So this is what it will look like when you get it out of the refrigerator. And then after you let it come up to room temperature for like 2 hours, it should look more like this. So these are sort of in two different stages. Now I'm just going to wet my hands a little bit. And I'm going to reach in here. And the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to reach in sort of underneath that dough. And I'm just going to take this out. So this is this dough that was in the refrigerator, and it feels cold in my hands. I can feel it's chilly in my hands. And that is the dough that's been in the refrigerator all night. It's got yeast in it. It has some bubbles. It has already started to rise a bit from what it was yesterday, but it's not quite ready to make pizza yet. And what needs to happen is it needs to warm up a little bit. So we'll set that there. And I have a scraper here. If you don't have one of these, you could use a knife or something like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut that right there. And I'm going to, what's that?
She's on a run.
Oh, Clem's not even here, you're saying. So it's not her fault. All right, so some other problem with the bandwidth. I think it's probably going to clear up. So I'm just tucking the bottoms of these in a little bit, making 2 little dough balls. Those are going to make pretty good sized pizzas. So this is about half of a kilo of dough, and that will make 2 pizzas about this size, or maybe 3 pizzas that are a little bit smaller. Often we make more pizzas, more smaller pizzas in our house, so we can have some variety. But you can do it however you prefer. All right. So the next thing I have is this dough, and this is the one that's already warm. I'm going to wet my hands again, and I'm wetting my hands so that the dough doesn't stick to me as much. What I'm going to do then is the same things. I'm going to come under that dough. I don't want to tear it. I don't want to flip it all around. There's a nice network of yeast, gluten in there right now. And so I'm going to take this out of here.
There's like a bubble forming on
Yeah, there's bubbles in it. I like the bubbles. It's a good thing for us. So this dough is bubbly. It's like, I don't know, sometimes people describe this as marshmallowy. If I push it, it comes back a bit. So there's a couple different stages in dough. If it's not risen at all, if I push it, it'll completely bounce back. If it's overdone, that means it's gone too long. I'll push it, and the dent will just stay there without coming back at all. And what I'm looking for is like an in-between. Like I push it, the dent comes back, but not all the way, which is what I'm seeing right here, which is really nice. Blue, how many, should I make this into 2, or should we do more than that?
I think maybe more.
More? You think
Yeah.
maybe 3? All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut this dough into 3 lumps, and I know it looks very wet, but that's okay with us. All right. So we got 3 little lumps of this dough here, and this dough, I'm going to put a little bit of flour down right there, and I'm going to go ahead and grab one of these guys. And it's quite sticky on my hands. Let me get a little bit more flour. There. All right, so it's a very sticky little one. It's a little stickier than I was expecting. I used some different flours when we made these. I can't remember which one was which, honestly. And this might be the 00 flour. We used like an Italian flour, but or maybe the other one is. So that one's shaped into a little ball, and that's getting ready to become a pizza. I'm going to get a little more flour in my hands now that I'm ready for how sticky these guys are, and I'm going to go ahead and make a second little ball here.
Wow, this one's much colder than this one.
Yeah, that one's the cold one. Just came out of the fridge, and that little dough is like all over my fingers. All right, get that guy together. Pizza's gonna come out really yummy. So you might have this at home where like some of the dough is more sticky than you expect. It's okay. Sticky wet dough makes really, really beautiful pizza. And I'll show you how to make the pizza itself. It won't really matter that it's this sticky when you get to that spot. So let's see how this guy's going. I'm getting a little bit more flour. All right, this one come together nicely. So I'm just wrapping them at the bottom. That just is a technique that gains a little bit of tension on the top, and I'm gonna let that rest a little bit right now. So these are getting ready to be made into pizza, and we're going to get the oven really hot, and then we're going to, in a few minutes, come back to these guys and shape them up and make some pizza with them. In the meantime, I thought we would get all of the ingredients ready that we want to put on top of the pizza, and then we'll make some kale salad as well. So these are so what we've done so far is really just taking the dough out of the refrigerator a couple hours before we want to make it. We've let it warm up and get marshmallowy, and then we've cut it into the shapes we want it, and we're just letting it sit for a few minutes here. If your house was really dry, you didn't want them to get like cakey, you could put a cloth over them. I think these are pretty wet doughs and our house is okay, so I'm just going to let them be just like that. If I start to see them drying out, I might put something over them, but I think they're going to be okay. Awesome. All right. So let's move on to getting some ingredients ready. Do you want to do should we, what kind of pizzas would you guys like? I thought maybe you'd like to do a potato one, Violet. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you like that idea?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
You know what? Let's see what we have in the refrigerator. Let's see
Let's see. I was thinking it might be really fun, Violet, to do. You want to grate some cheese for one?
Sure.
Some potatoes. You could cut the potato if you want.
Sure, I grate some cheese.
That would be awesome. Do you know where the grater is?
Should I cut up the potato?
You can grate that cheese right there.
Should I cut up the potato?
Yeah, why don't you cut up that potato? I think that would be great. And so you can work with whatever you have in your fridge on the pizza. If you have some roasted veggies, those can work great. I've got some mushrooms here I'm really excited to use. I've got a couple different kinds of mushrooms. This is from a local mushroom company, and they're from Chelmsford, Mass. They have some beautiful, it's called Fat Moon Farms. They have a mixture of some different mushrooms. I think that one's called lion's head, and I think this is an oyster mushroom, maybe a blue oyster mushroom. And so these are going to be awesome. I'm going to break these up on a pizza. They also have, so just, yeah, you got it. Just be real careful with that. You got it right there, it's fine. So Violet's using a nice sharp knife here, so I'm just going to supervise her a little bit.
How should I cut it?
Yeah, just slices or however you'd like it on your pizza. I think slices would be nice. Yep, your knife will go right through it. You got it. There you go.
Use a claw.
So this knife has little kids' pictures on it, but it's razor sharp, so it's a good idea to watch. You got it. Just give it a little slice. Yep, and just make sure that thumb doesn't get in the way. You got it. Nice job, Violet. Now, what you can do when you get to this spot, it might make it easier, turn it so it's on its flat part and it's not even wiggly. And then you can just go ahead and, yeah, cut slices on the rest of it. And with this kind of, that skin's a little tough, right? So if you just give it a little pull, yep, well you've got it, just give it a little pull. Feel that blade just slicing in through it? So if you give it a little back and forth motion, it comes through really easily. Whoops. It's okay, you can call it right there. Okay, I'll give you a little. So you see I'm going to do a little slicing motion. I'll go right through. Good job. So I'm going to do something else here. I've got the shiitake, a different mix from the same farm. And I was looking at these and thinking, this could be fun to cut these really fine. Shiitake have a really strong, fragrant, distinctive flavor. I don't even know if I've ever made a pizza with shiitake, but I was thinking it might be really yummy. And we have some, when we made quick pickles on an earlier episode, one of the quick pickles we made were shoyu pickles, or pickles which are just basically pickles in soy sauce. And I think that could be really yummy on this pizza. So I might do a little bit of some Japanese flavors on that pizza. So I've got some shiitake mushroom there, and we have some onions. I think I love onions on pizzas. I think we almost always include onions on our pizzas. Let's take that end off. Now you can see this onion's looking a little funky. That is because we're at the end of the season. This onion was probably picked many months ago, and it wants to become a plant again. But the cool thing about onions, they have these layers of armor, and you can see the damage doesn't extend through the whole onion. So we're just going to pick off the stuff that doesn't look yummy. And I still have a little bit on there. And once you take off the bad part of the onion, the rest of it is great and ready to use. And I'll make some of these onion slices really fine. And then I'm going to make another set of these that are big onion slices. So, two different styles of onions. They'll cook up a little differently and they'll taste a little different on the pizza. And your onion rings. What else should we do? Do we want a little bit of garlic on the pizza?
Yeah, that's probably.
I think that's good. I had some extra olives, and I made a tapenade with that, which is sort of the olives with olive oil and garlic. And it was in my refrigerator. And I thought that might be a fun thing to do with a pizza. So we're going to make a pizza with that. And I have this goat cheese, labna. They sell this at the farm market just down the road. And there's a little self-serve farmer's market, which is great. And so I happen to have that. But I think you can really just have fun with whatever you have in your kitchen, whatever you have in your refrigerator. I've had a few pizza combinations that I wouldn't repeat, but most of them come out pretty well, right, Violet?
Yeah.
And Violet, the kids usually really like the tomato cheese pizza too, right?
Yeah.
And Blue likes pineapples on pizza. I think last week's show we even opened up a can of pineapples, didn't we?
Pineapple juice.
Yeah.
We could have some sodas tonight.
I'm alright with that. You want some sodas tonight?
Yeah.
So Fridays are like movie nights for us, and so we turn on the movies, and sometimes we have things like pizza and soda. All right, so I'm just getting my garlics cleaned up here, and there's a method of opening the garlics where you smash them, and that's great when you want the garlic sort of finely minced or smashed. In this case, I want to preserve that because I'm going to cut at least some of these garlic. I'm going to cut really fine like this. Now, I have been taught that when a garlic starts to go green, you can see little sprouts in these, that you shouldn't use that. I think that's a traditional chef's thing, that's very bitter and it's not tasty. I'd hate to throw garlic away. I mean, you can see these are little sprouts. These are garlic from Linden Tree Farm just down the road, and they're from last season, so they are getting old and they're starting to get ready to grow into plants. Honestly, I'm very sensitive to bitter taste and stuff. I've never had a problem with this sort of garlic, so I would use this without feeling afraid of that at all. Even though I've heard that lots of times. What's that? The bowl? Yeah, I was looking around for all the bowl to put that in. Oh, that's a great idea, Violet. Perfect. Excellent. Here, let me help you up there. You just have a little kickstand there. Sorry. Is it good?
Yeah.
All right.
Potatoes probably.
So I use some of this garlic is going to be for the pizza, but I need more than that because we're going to need garlic for our kale Caesar salad too. So I'm going to get some other garlic ready for that. Almost there. And so when I'm doing this, I'll just show you a little technique, and this would be true for mincing garlic, going through herbs. I can hold the top of the blade down and move through it in like a fan-shaped motion, and I'm very disciplined about it. I don't want to go wham, 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 wham all over the place, because what happens if I do that is I get some pieces chopped, but other pieces I might miss. But if I go like this, it's like a clean sweep, I know I'm going to get through all the pieces. And I'm also making that distance between each cut pretty similar. So each of those pieces over time is going to end up being the same size. So if you see this, so I'm sort of getting that down on the cutting board, and what I'm doing, I'm moving it over, cutting it down, moving it over, cutting it down, moving it over, cutting it down. And I'm doing that very evenly so that all these pieces end up getting hit with about the same distance apart. You know, some of them might escape longer that way, but over time, coming back over these in different directions, I'm going to end up with all the garlic about the same size. And that's the fastest way I know to do this job. And see how sticky it is? It's like all the juices in that garlic get really sticky. But it's fine. It's going to taste awesome. It smells really good. And I'm just going to wash my fingers off. What's that?
Do you want to separate it from this?
Yeah, that'd be great, Vi. And you know what? We'll do a little trick there. I'll show you guys a little trick. When you get a garlicky on your hands, if you have some cutlery that's stainless steel, And this is, we're going to do some little science segments at some point, but this is a really cool one. The stainless steel acts as what's called a catalyst for a chemical reaction that can take place that destroys the oniony, garlicky smells. So all you need to do is rub the stainless steel on your hands under the water, and I know that sounds really funny that that's all you'd have to do. It's not soap that's going to get rid of this. I can wash my hands with soap over and over and it's still going to smell garlicky. But if I just rub my hands underwater with that stainless steel, all that smell of garlic is totally gone, which is a really cool trick. Yeah. Yeah, it's something called a catalyst, which is really cool. Catalysts are like things that when they're present in a chemical reaction, they make the reaction happen better with lower energy, but they're not a part of it. So it's sort of like, I don't know, if you and Blue are working on something, sometimes maybe if Clem was there cheering you on, maybe she's not even helping you do the thing, but it still makes you work better. It's sort of what a catalyst is like. All right, so we've got some garlic there. Oh, you can get one for the mushrooms?
Yeah.
And you know what, I'm going to get a pan going here with some heat, a little oil, and I'm going to put the mushrooms in that. And I'm going to cook them before I put them on the pizza. And get them like crunchy and a little bit caramelized. I'll do this at a pretty high temperature. It's a fun way to handle shiitake. So we'll see that in a minute. And what else do we have to get ready, Vi? I think we're pretty good here, right?
Yeah, start.
Oh, let's get some sauce ready, huh?
Yeah.
So this is just a jar of canned tomatoes. These are whole peeled tomatoes. They're organic. I think it tastes a lot better, so I would encourage you to get organic tomatoes if you can. You know, when these are on sale, they're a couple bucks, maybe less for a can. A lot cheaper than a commercial tomato sauce. And they're actually, I think, a lot more yummy too. And our favorite tomato sauce for a pizza is as simple as this. We're just going to take these. These are whole tomatoes. You could have diced tomatoes. You could have pureed tomatoes. The whole ones, I think, are a little more flexible, and then if I want to dice them, I can dice them up. If I want to puree them, I can puree them, which is sort of what I'm going to be doing right now. I can control how chunky they are. So I really like that whole can of tomatoes. And what I was just doing there while I was talking, I just put a bit of water in the can. I don't want to waste all that good tomatoey taste. So I just rinsed that out. So now I've got in here tomatoes in their juice. When you buy tomatoes, there's a lot of different canned tomatoes. You want to try and find them without a lot of ingredients. You'd like it if the tomatoes were in their juice and not much else. These ones are these are the Muir Glen tomatoes, and they share a name with us, which is pretty cool, right, Violet?
Yeah.
But I'm not a big fan of all canned tomatoes. Some of them I think taste horrible. I like the organic ones, and I like the ones without many ingredients in them. So I'm going to squeeze behind and hope I don't make a mess on the computer here that we're using to make sure this is streaming all right. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the blender to low, and I'm going to turn it on. And I'm going to let it go a little bit at this low speed. And then I'm just going to give it a little bit more speed, one more time, and that's it. So this is tomatoes and salt. And that's really all that's in there. I'm going to go ahead and rinse that off. And if anybody has questions, feel free to ask them. All right. So we've got our tomato sauce ready to go. We're going to need some olive oil. This pan's hot, so let's check this out. This is a fun thing. So that's nice and hot. If you're not sure if it's hot, you can always drop one thing in or a little bit of water. You can see it bubbling up. And we're going to do is we're going to put those all right, and so this is a pretty hot pan. This is like a high temperature. And I'm just moving that around. There's a good amount of oil in there. And this isn't going to go very long. I'm starting to smell them. They're already getting really close to where I want them. They're going to get like a little bit crunchy, and they're going to get some really nice flavor. And it's very close to being where I want it to be. I don't want to overcook them. They'll get really bitter if I do that. Just want to get some color on them, and I want to get some of the moisture out so that they get a little bit crunchy. These will be a fun topping for a pizza. Okay. So I'm happy with that. We're going to pull it off the heat. You can see that was a nice high flame. That was a pretty hot, fast thing. Can you give me another one of those little bowls, Violet?
Yeah.
Your bowls are winners.
Which one?
Just these little ring pins.
Which one was the one you used to dump them in there?
Oh, well, that's a good point. Thank you, Violet, for making sure I don't dirty too many. You're right. All right, here we go. So those are, and you know, I'm going to do, I was just thinking about this. I have a little sesame oil. I'm going to add a little sesame oil to that just to go with that Japanese theme. All right, that's going to be really, really fun. I think we're good. Do we have everything we need now? Yeah? Do you want to put these over in the bowl over there, Vi? You got it? We don't need those guys. And I think we're ready to make some pizzas. Sound good, Blue?
Yes.
Okay.
And the pizza? Yummy.
Now, yeah, we can all make pizzas. So we get everything ready, and we got our dough out. These are just commercial aluminum pizza pans, and I love using these to make pizza. There's lots of other ways you can make pizza. You could use like a regular sheet pan, that would work fine too. You could use anything really. The recipes I'm showing you right now, I get really good results without pizza stones. But maybe in a future episode we can do something with a pizza stone. But these are going to be awesome. They're going to be really crunchy and delicious without a pizza stone. We're just going to do them on these. We'll probably need. And one last trick. Oops, sorry, Blue. And this may not be something everybody can do at home, but I'm making rice flour right now. Rice flour is like awesome. It's bomb. So the rice flour is really noisy. I don't know if you can even hear me, but it's like little slippery ball bearings, and it doesn't burn. So if we put cornmeal in there, this is going to be a really high temperature in that oven, and the cornmeal will burn and add a little bit of a bad flavor. If I use flour, I'll have the same problem. But rice flour doesn't have those issues, so it's a really awesome choice for putting on the bottom of the pizza. If you don't have a grinder, you can still buy rice flour, and that might work fine. And if you don't have rice flour at home and you're trying not to go out because of COVID, that's okay. You could use cornmeal. You could use a little bit of flour. It's just going to add a little more bitterness than you would have otherwise. So the way we're going to make this pizza, I'll just go through this. We did this. It's going to be the exact same technique as last week. So I'm just going to put some flour on the surface, not a lot. And I'll make the first one, and why don't you make the second one, Blue? Sound good?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to put a little flour on the surface. I got a little flour on my hands, and now I'm going to use my little spatula here. If you don't have one of these, one of my favorite kitchen tools. These are sold commercially. I'm sure you can find one on Amazon or something. I think they cost us like $2 at the restaurant. We used to sell these in our stores to customers on retail. We never sold many, but they're awesome, and they're really inexpensive, and you can use them for everything. It's a bench scraper. So now I'm going to just, with my fingertips, I'm going to go through an action where I'm going to push down. I'm going sort of quickly. I'm going to push down with my fingertips. And what happens when I do this is that the dough, get a little more flour on my hands. When I do this method, the dough gets pushed out to the side, but it doesn't get tugged out, and it's not made tough. And what I'm going to do is come around the edge here with my fingers, make a little bit of a crust for this pizza. Now I'm going to bring it up on my hand, and that takes a little practice to get graceful at that, but you can all figure out how to do it over time. And I'm going to come around with my fingers again. You can see I'm just pressing out a little bit of a crust there. Okay, and this pizza dough is looking awesome to me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it onto a pan that I'm going to use to make the pizza. So I'm going to put my ball bearings on the pan. And it's going to let it come off really easily at the end. I'm going to bring my hand under this, and then I'm going to bring that over. Okay. So this is a nice wet dough. It's going to cook up really beautifully in the oven. And what we're going to do is we're going to protect this dough. We want to get this combination of like that crunch and the chewiness. We want some of the bubbliness and lightness, and we don't want the dough to get soggy. So a little trick to prevent that is we're just going to put some olive oil on first. And the olive oil is going to be like a raincoat. It's going to keep the moisture of the tomato sauce from getting into the dough too much, making it soggy. So this is a nice way to start pizza. And I'm going to bring that over onto the crust a little bit too. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to take some of my tomato sauce, and I really don't need much. So for this size pizza, I'm going to do maybe 1 and a little less than 2 spoonfuls, and then I'm going to start from the middle, and I'm going to spread this in a circle going out. And when I get to the very edge, I'm going to rub the tomato sauce a little bit on the crust. I like the way that tastes when I eat that crust. And there's a little bit of tomato sauce on it. I'm going through this a little more slowly and a lot more detail than I think I did last week. But last week we were racing the pizza delivery person, so we just had to go full speed, right? And now I'm going to put a little bit of salt on that tomato sauce. So this is, should we just make, what should we do for this first one? Should we just make cheese?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so we'll make this a simple pizza. It's a cheese pizza. I'm using cheddar cheese on this pizza. You can use whatever kind of cheese you really like. We eat a lot of cheddar cheese in our house. I loved it when I was a kid. I love it now. I think that Blue is lactose intolerant, and cheddar cheese is great for that because if you have properly aged cheddar, it doesn't have lactose in it, which is awesome. And I may have some slight lactose intolerance. I'm not sure, but it might be why I prefer that too. There we go. So I've got a simple cheese pizza here. I didn't overdo it with the sauce. I didn't overdo it with the cheese. I think that's important to it turning out really well in the end. I think a lot of times people make a mistake by trying to pile too much on that poor pizza crust, and it can only bear so much. And I'm going to put a little bit of Greek oregano on this. Just an herb I happen to have present, and I think that'll be really, really yummy. And then this is as simple as this is going to be. It's going to go right into the oven. The oven here is at about as high as my oven can get. So for me, that's just under 500 degrees. And if you have convection, this is a great time to use the convection. So having that hot air blow around in there helps it cook more evenly and more quickly. All right, so we've got 4 more doughs. Blue, you want to do one?
Yes.
It's like each person gets to do one. Yeah.
There's 2 questions.
All right.
The first question is, when you put potatoes on your pizza, it looks like you were starting with full baked potatoes. Is that right?
Oh yeah, that potato was in my fridge, and it was baked. If I didn't have a baked potato, I probably wouldn't have brought out potatoes for the pizza. I wouldn't cook potatoes just for making the pizza. But I happen to have that in my fridge, and I think it'll be delicious.
And then there's another question.
Yeah.
Do you ever stuff your pizza crust?
I have never stuffed the pizza crust. You know, personally, I'm just not much of a fan of stuffed pizza crust, but if you wanted to do that, you could. What you would do is you'd make the whole thing go out, you put your stuff in, and you roll the crust over. Do you want a little hand, or you want to do it yourself?
100%.
All right. So here, well, I'll show you then a little bit of technique, okay? So if you come to the edge and you push those fingers, you can see it's like a little bit away. You can start making a crust, and then what I'll do with this is just flip it over. There you go. And then start doing it that same way around there. Does that make sense? Yep, there you go. And you can make, this looks like the right size crust, but that's the size you want when it's done. So you can make it even a little smaller right now. Keep going. That's good. Right about that, it's gonna puff up. It's gonna be a nice size crust. And if you want, as you come around, you can flip it again like that if it gives you a better, yep, nice job. Good. And when I flip it, I tend to go I tend to use the back side of my hand. So I meet that up with the pizza and I bring it over and I pull my hand out of the way. And I think that does a good job not tearing at the dough. There's a little bit of skill that comes to handling dough, and you just develop dough hands. You get a sense of like how to squeeze it, how not to. There's definitely a way to grab dough where it's sticky every time and it's hard to handle, but then there's another way to handle it. And I'm not a professional baker, so you watch professional bakers and it's a lot of fun to watch them. They're like really beautiful with the dough. All right. Do you want to do one? Which one do you want to do? You want to do that one? Okay. Looks really nice blue here. So I'm just gonna pick it up and I'm gonna stretch this out a little bit. So I just think your pizza, that's a little bigger. There we go. Now something happened that's really great to see. This is torn right here. So we broke the pizza dough. I'm just gonna bring it over and pinch it down, and that's going to be good as new. I'm gonna make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom. There we go. We got a really nice pizza dough here. Now let's get this on a pan. This is one of the reasons we make a little bit smaller pizzas at our house too, is our pans are only of a certain size. I think if we have a bigger one, we need to put it on a bigger pan. All right, nice job, Blue. Nice job. Absolutely. So let's think about what you're going to put on the pizza first, Blue. Which one do you want to do? Do you want to try the provolone cheese one?
No.
You don't want that one. You can start with olive oil. Your mom's right. You can set this down for a second while you do that olive oil. Which kind of pizza do you want to do, Blue? Do you want to do one with spicy peppers? Have some spice, or do you want to do a mushroom pizza?
No.
Which one do you want to do? Do you want to do the catamount olive one?
Yes.
Actually, Violet would want to do that. We'll put the potato on that one.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be really good.
Yeah.
How about the... Or you want to do the Japanese flavors, Blue?
What's the Japanese flavors?
The shiitakes we did, and then I have some pickled daikon I think would be really fun to lay on. You want to do that one?
Sure.
Only thing I don't know about this one is I'm not sure if it's... Should we try to make it with tomato sauce, or should we try to make it with something else? Should we just do it like white? What do you think? Whatever you want. We're going to put like a little bit of these, a little bit of that. Some cheese. Want to do it with tomato sauce?
Sure.
Give it a try. This one's an experimental one. Alright, one little hand here.
Pickles would go great with tomato sauce.
Oh, it's going to be great. Do you know that's like a South Shore special? There's like Boston famous pizzas that have pickle slices on the pizza. Do you know that?
With tomato sauce?
Yeah.
Ooh,
But regular pickles, like cucumber pickles, baked on the pizza. Yeah, I've never brought that home for you guys. We should do it someday. It's a really fun thing about pizza is I love all the different styles of pizza. There's so many varieties. It's like a simple thing and it's done so many different ways. It's really a lot of fun. That pizza's looking really, really good in the oven.
kind of thin.
All right, so just be careful not to tear it there, Vi, and I'll help you out with it, okay, sweetie? And Clem, that's going to be a nice big one you're making there. So we might even make it even a rectangular shape is okay? It's going to be quite a bit bigger than theirs. It's like a larger piece.
Okay. It's kind of thin, this one.
I'll help you. Sorry, I was just feeling a little bit thirsty. You got a question there, Blue?
No, someone just said pickle pizza is the best.
Pickle pizza's the best. There you go. So you got a pickle pizza fan on there. This pan has a little bit of char on it left over from a previous pizza, I think. We're going to scrape that off. So that is a good tip that you should know. You want this surface to be smooth, so you don't want to have anything that the pizza's going to get stuck on. And then what happened to my flour? There it is.
Oh my gosh, there are questions.
Yeah.
Comments.
Well, it's getting excited about the questions over there. Blue, you got to finish that pizza before it gets too soggy, buddy.
Okay,
So why don't you put the cheese on first? All right.
There was a question.
Yes.
What happens if you stretch it a little bit too much and a hole forms in the dough?
Well, we had one of those we dealt with a minute ago. And actually, I have a little hole right here, so we can fix this hole. So I'm just going to bring the pizza over that a little bit and then press it down, and that hole's gone.
And then,
So this is some olive tapenade, and we're going to use this as a backdrop for this pizza. We'll just put it all on there, I guess. I have never made this pizza before. This is an experiment right now, but I think it's going to be really yummy. And I saw the tapenade, and I saw those labne, and I was thinking this might be really fun to play with. So that's the olive tapenade. It's really, really simple. We made this ourselves. It's just olives that are blended up with olive oil, some salt, and garlic. And that's really all that's in that. And I'm going to put some thin onions on this. I think this will be really, really yummy. Look at that, it's so pretty. All right, and now Violet, let's put a few slices of potatoes, but let's just like space them out. So maybe like 4 or 5 total. Just spaced out a little bit. Looks awesome, right? Ooh, and these are in olive oil. We should save that olive oil for something, guys. Wish I'd known that. We were running out of olive oil the other day.
What should I put next on the? Should I put the pickle?
Yeah, exactly. Grab a couple of those. I wouldn't overdo it. I just put a few, and you can put more cheese on yours too, Blue. Yeah, feel free to load that sucker up. And how did we get these balls out the first time? Oh, I think we used a fork or something, didn't we?
we used a
Chopstick? That worked a lot better than my fingers, huh? No, that's alright. I'm almost done doing my messy damage job. Yeah. Alright, so we've got like a soft, fresh cheese here. And we have some potatoes, some onions, we have cannonball olives. Now, I don't know that I would... Now, this might be an amazing pizza that we dream about, and maybe someday we'll recreate it. But I'm probably not likely to run out to buy these ingredients and roast these potatoes just to make this pizza.
Do we have any orange?
We generally work with what we have in the fridge.
Do we have any orange zest?
Orange zest. Now I've got lemon zest.
Someone said we should put some orange zest.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Well, we could put a little, there is a, I don't think I'm going to do it on this pizza. There's pizza I've made before with really, really thinly sliced lemon slices. It's actually really yummy. I don't know. Do you want to try that on this one?
Put it on all the pizza.
Do you want to try thin lemon slices on this one?
Yeah.
Or you want to just stop where we are?
Let's put it.
Close that, sure.
Let's put it up.
All right, so get my Japanese vegetable knife there, Blue. It's like this little stuff, one of the ones in the box over there. That'll let me get a really thin slice. Yep. All right, we'll try this. I used to have a pizza I love to do this way. And so what we're doing here is we're going to just have a very, very, very thin slice of lemon. That's not there yet. All right. Okay, here we go. No. Yeah, that's what I really want to do, that like little shaved slices. And then, Blue, you're going to like this part of it. Watch this.
Some sugar on it?
Yeah.
It's gonna be kind of unique.
It's going to be unique, yeah. We're just putting a little sugar on the lemons.
Garlic is very.
This one is our big experiment pizza of the night. All right. I bet you didn't expect we were going to put sugar on one of the pizzas, Blue.
We should just do one just lemon.
And actually, let's do this. Well, I've got this knife out, Blue.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make these a little bit thinner. Okay. I think this is good. I think you got plenty here. And then let's, just sprinkle the shiitake around. Yep. Okay, I guess we've got 2 big experimental pizzas tonight, huh?
Ah. I don't know about the lemon one.
Hey.
Here, this one's ready for a pan.
Oh my gosh, Clem, that looks awesome. You did such a good job. I wasn't even paying attention when you were doing over there. You nailed it. All right, Clemmy, you want to, so what you want to do is just take this and just sort of like, see I'm like, I don't know, sprinkling it on like between my fingers like that, and that makes, and from a distance, if I went right down, it'd just be a clump. But if I do this like that, it becomes a nice snowy background. And now, do you want to try and lift that? Or you want me to help you?
I can try.
Okay. Nice job. Beautiful.
Is this enough shiitake on the?
I would just put them all on blue, and that oil's going to be part of the taste here. Delicious. Blue is cringing behind me. So Blue's not sure about the shiitake pizza. I think it's going to be amazing, and I guess we'll all just see in a couple
it'll be
minutes.
good.
Oh, I think it's going to be amazing. I think this is going to be a real winner. All right, let's bring that around. And are we all out of cheddar cheese, Blue?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think we want to make more for this, or I think it's a little bit scant. Do you?
Okay.
There's more cheese right there. Let's just grate a little more.
What do you want put on this one? We're gonna do some very experimental.
Yeah, let's start out with olive oil, and let's put mushroom. Let's do a nice like tomato cheese mushroom. Actually, Clem's gonna need more cheese too, Blue. So just grate that whole thing.
Alright. I could use the provolone. Something like that.
Blue. And so I'm looking at this pizza. It's not quite done yet. You can see the crust is like starting to get a little bit of color. The cheese is melting and bubbling nicely, but I want that to go a little bit further.
Was that the first one?
That's the first one. Yeah.
What did we put on it?
Cheese,
Is that all?
tomato sauce, and salt. Well, that one's a very simple one. Clemmy, we've got a little spoon here you can use.
Yeah.
Were you looking for
Yeah, I
that?
just looked to grab one.
And what are we gonna do on yours? We could do mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're thinking? All right. We already talked about that, and I forgot.
You guys.
Yeah, here you go. Alright, that looks awesome, Blue. So I'm gonna get some of these cheese Blue just did and add some more cheese to this pizza. Alright. We'll all have to vote on our favorite pizzas at the end. This one's gonna go in at the bottom here. That looks awesome, Clem. Man, you're a pro. Nicely done. I'll grab you some cheese. Blue, I think you might want to keep going.
Somebody just said a joke.
A joke.
What type of jokes are appropriate during this pandemic? Inside jokes.
That's a COVID joke, huh? All right. Nice job, Clemmy. So we're gonna do one more of these pizzas, and then we're gonna switch to making the kale salad.
What kind of pizza is going to be the last one?
What's that?
What kind of pizza?
I think we need more cheese, though, don't you, Clem?
I think I'm just a little.
Let me get you a little more cheese.
What kind of pizza is going to be the last one? What kind of mushroom should I use?
I would use both of those. Maybe more of the. Maybe skip the lime meat. I don't know.
Okay.
I think it does. It cooks a little funny on a pizza, but I think the other ones, the blue oyster, that'll be perfect. Here. If you get this guy in small enough pieces, it works.
Okay.
But you have to really like string cheese it. You know. Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah, you got to really flake it out, because if it's too big on there, it gets like sort of soggy and not fun. But if you make it small enough, it'll be really nice.
That's a fun texture.
Yeah, it's sort of neat. It's like fibrous. Huh? You're doing a great job, Clemmy.
What are we going to do on this one?
You got two with mushrooms, huh? You know, you're gonna appear like you're a picky eater to people watching at home, but you're really not. But mushrooms are not your favorite, huh? Well, I think, fun thing about making pizza at home is you can make a bunch of different kinds of pizza with different things on them. And I think the next pizza will not have mushrooms. Does that sound good to you? I was thinking next pizza,
Should I
let's
put
do
any
the
blue
big
oyster on
onions
it?
on it. Do like a big onion pizza.
Should I put some blue
Yeah, let's
oyster?
put some blue oysters on there.
Should I break them up just in like chunks?
Did you put any salt on there, by the way, once you did the tomato sauce?
No, I did not.
Let's just get a little salt on the tomato sauce. Yep, and then just break them with your fingers, just exactly.
I love the texture of mushrooms.
Yeah. So Clementine loves mushrooms.
I think they're the best pizza topping, personally.
I love mushroom pizza. So, yeah, this is really beautiful. All right, so we got ourselves. Now on this one, I'm gonna hit this with a little bit of olive oil. Some of these pizzas we're gonna finish with olive oil. This one I'm hitting it with olive oil on the top because it's gonna help bring a little more heat to those mushrooms and get the texture about where I want it. Come down here and have a peek. I'm hoping one of these is about done because we need some more space. And that's looking really beautiful. I'm gonna take that out. All right. Back in the oven, still on a very high temperature. This pizza's looking really yummy. It's gonna cool for a few minutes there. All right, let me whip together the last pizza. We'll do this one pretty quickly. As much fun as it is to be watching pizza making, we've got some other things we want to pull out. Blue, would you give me the other stainless steel pan, like the one that Clem's just went in? You know what I'm talking about?
Like
the big
that,
one.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I think I could use the pan that the pizza just came out. Let me do that. Come, would you do me a favor and start putting some of these things away that we don't need? No, I'll just use the one that the pizza's on. Yeah, just give me a sec. But I don't know. See how big this guy gets.
You might need a bigger pan.
Can you go like?
You want me to try and spin it? Blue wants to see if we can spin it. I don't know. Let's see. We did a little bit of a spin. Nope, that one's becoming not quite a spin. There's not a very high ceiling in here to spin pizzas.
Oh, it's a bubble.
Yeah, let's leave that there. I love it when those blow up in the oven. Okay, that dough looks really nice. Let's do it on this pan. I think we can pull it off. Now, to get this pizza off, it should be pretty loose because of that ball bearings. The other trick is when these aluminum pans are really new, they are pretty sticky. So I put them in the oven. I let them sit in there for like 350 degrees
Somebody
for
said it should be
an hour or
calzone.
two. A calzone. I love calzones, and I should make a calzone, but I think for this guy, I think that's maybe the wrong side. It's a little bit big for the calzone, I think. So I think we're going to stick with the pizza on this one. I do like the idea of a calzone, though. I think one of these future pizza nights will do calzones for sure. So what we're doing is, this dough is an overnight dough. This dough is going to have a lot more flavor than the dough last week. The dough last week was awesome because we could make it faster than we could order pizza. And we could make an organic, homemade pizza. We knew everything that was on the pizza, and we could do it faster than delivery. This dough is a little different because we had to think about it last night. It didn't require that much more time, active time, but we did have to get it set up last night. And I don't always remember to do that, and sometimes we're just hungry and we want pizza fast. But this kind is a more flavorful dough. It's going to have a little more chewy texture than the other one, and it's going to have a little bit more flavor developed there. Next week, I think we might do a sourdough pizza dough. And then after that, I think we might do 100% whole wheat pizza dough. That's super yummy. So I think we're going to do some different style pizzas still to come.
There's a big bubble forming right here.
So we're going to, you familiar with this now, so 2 spoons in the middle. I would do fewer if this was a smaller pizza. I'm going to make a circle coming out from the middle. I'm going to brush it over the edges. My nice round crust got a little bit frumpy looking, but that's because my pizza got bigger than the pan and then I had to squish it back a little bit, but it's going to still taste really yummy. I've got a little bit of salt because this tomato needs some salt. And then let's do where's that provolone cheese? Did you put that away?
Yeah.
Can you grab that? So this is a funny thing, but there's a couple different styles of pizza with slices of provolone on a tomato base that I like a lot, and so we're gonna go with that here. We're gonna put a little bit of this oregano on. Just gonna go a little heavier on the oregano here. Thank you. This is a kosher provolone from Clover that was going bad, or going to go bad, before everybody came back. And I thought I would bring it into pizza night, save its life.
What is provolone?
Provolone? It's a good question. Yeah, thank you. I'm not doing a very good job opening this one. I want to succeed though. And it's so hard. I don't know why it's so hard to open. Okay, you got it. It's up to you. I think it may have sealed in the wrong spot.
I can try.
I don't think it's openable. Here, let me just cut the whole thing off.
I want to try before you cut
I
it.
think it got sealed wrong. Let me try.
Try that.
I think that it got sealed right there.
Oh.
All right. Let's see. Does that work now?
I think it's just saying.
Blue doesn't think this. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna forget about the resealable edge, and we're just gonna take it over. Blue doesn't really like this kind of cheese. It's sort of a processed cheese, but this one is vegetarian, no animal rennet. It's kosher certified, and it's a certain style of pizza that I actually enjoy, and I think would be fun for us to make. So this is like a simple tomato base, and then just a couple slices. You want to put some on? It looks like you're ready. There you go. Go for it. Take a peek at these cheese.
Looks like it's almost.
And that looks awesome. All right, we'll let them keep going. They're not quite done.
Is that good or?
This is beautiful. This is what we were going for here. Do we have room for one? Not quite. Well, I think this one's just about done. So that looks, yeah, it looks about done to me. So I have talked to a few people who made pizza from the recipe last week, and this is similar in a lot of ways. I'll just give you guys a few tips to cooking. One is these recipes were not really designed for baking on a pizza stone. I know pizza stones have become really popular in recent years, but if you cook these on the pizza stone, you may end up with a little bit of a crackery crust. This is designed to be nice and crunchy even when you're on a sheet pan, and when you do it on a pizza stone, you may be overdoing it, taking a little too much moisture out of the crust. The other tip I'll give you is you want to cook them just shy of being overcooked. I'm not sure if that sounds very helpful, but that's how I think about it. I don't want to get to a place where it's dried out, where it's cracker-like, where it's burnt, but I don't want to pull it earlier than I have to. So I sort of wait for that moment where I think it's just almost at the edge and it's going to become overcooked if I leave it in there longer, and that's when I pull it out. And the more you make these, the better sense you'll have of how your oven works, how long that takes, you know, what you like personally, and you can end up sort of targeting that perfect spot. But I'd like to have these have a little bit of flexibility to them, but a little bit of crispiness underneath. Oh, stream finished. No, it's not your fault. I think it's because it's only scheduled till 5, and it must be that YouTube has some new thing again.
Vincenzo was typing all the questions.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
He wanted to.
Is this episode 16? Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Yeah.
18.
18?
Mm-hmm.
I think that you should be able to do this. Oh, it says it's still live?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll just come through. I don't, if everybody can still hear us, sorry, we're having some technical glitches. Hope we'll be back on in like 20 seconds.